If you clicked on this video, chances are you're worried about your cholesterol. You're not alone. I talk about this with my patients nearly every day. The good news? With the right dietary changes, some people can lower their LDL cholesterol by as much as 30%. So today we're diving into the top 9 proven strategies to help you bring down your LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, naturally.
You've probably seen a lot of heated debates online about fats and heart health. So let's cut through the noise and focus on what science actually tells us.
Let's start with a quick fat refresher so we're all on the same page.
Trans fats, these used to be in hydrogenated oils. They're so dangerous they've been banned in most countries.
Saturated fats, found in butter, coconut oil, cheese, and ice cream.
MUFAs, monounsaturated fats, like olive oil, avocados, and almonds.
PUFAs, polyunsaturated fats, omega-3s and omega-6s, found in salmon, walnuts, flax seeds, and sunflower seeds. It's well established. Cutting back on saturated fats lowers your LDL.
Here's a real-world example. Skipping a single honey cruller donut, which has about 100 calories of saturated fat, could lower your LDL by 6.5 to 10.5 points, depending on what you replace it with.
PUFAs are the MVPs here. But MUFAs and even healthy carbs can help too. Protein hasn't been studied directly for LDL reduction, but the OmniHeart trial suggests it probably plays a supportive role.
One thing you'll notice in these studies, no one is swapping saturated fats for junk food.
Let's be honest. Sometimes we try to game the system. Like, sure, this snack is low in saturated fat, so it must be heart healthy. But gummy bears and sugary sodas aren't doing you any favors.
In fact, they're linked to weight gain, metabolic syndrome, and higher cardiovascular risk.
Working on this video made me take a hard look at my own diet. I realized I wasn't getting nearly enough PUFAS, so my husband and I made a small change. We started snacking on walnuts in the afternoon and tossing sunflower seeds into our salads. It was easy once we added them to the grocery list.
When we think saturated fat, we picture fatty meats and butter. But here's a surprise. Some sugary snacks and drinks are packed with it too.
A large Tim Hortons iced cappuccino? Up to 21 grams of saturated fat. That's like drinking the fat from 16 slices of bacon.
And coconut oil, yes, the so-called health food, actually has more saturated fat than butter, gram for gram. And it sneaks into a lot of trendy desserts and snacks, especially plant-based ones.
So here's the bottom line. Fat isn't the villain. But if you want to lower your LDL, reduce saturated fats. And whatever you do, don't replace them with refined sugars or ultra-processed foods.
Now here's a surprising one. Your coffee-making method can affect your LDL. Coffee naturally contains a compound called cafestol, which messes with your liver's ability to clear LDL from your blood. Any coffee that doesn't pass through a paper filter keeps that cafestol in.
The worst offender? Boiled coffee, like Turkish or Scandinavian style. Next comes espresso and French press. But here's the good news. A review of 6 clinical trials found that using a paper filter can lower your LDL by an average of 15 points. That's a pretty big payoff for just switching up your morning routine.
Let's talk about dietary cholesterol, especially eggs. Social media is split. One camp says eggs are poison. The other says eat as many as you want.
The reality? It depends on your genetics. On average, people absorb about 50% of dietary cholesterol, but some absorb 90% and others close to 0. Unfortunately, there's no simple test to figure out your absorption rate.
Studies suggest one egg might raise your LDL by around 5 points. So, not a huge impact.
And if you're choosing a boiled egg over an iced cappuccino or a cookie, you're still coming out ahead.
The American Heart Association says that 1 egg yolk per day is okay for most healthy individuals. Still, if you're aiming to reduce your LDL, it's reasonable to cut back and see what kind of impact it has. Just make sure you're not replacing it with junk food.
And please remember, cholesterol-free doesn't mean heart healthy. Always check the saturated fat content.
This one's easy to add and super effective. Fiber. Specifically, soluble fiber. The kind that dissolves in water and turns into a gel. You can actually see this when you soak chia seeds.
Why does this matter? Your liver clears LDL cholesterol by turning it into bile and dumping it into your intestines. Normally, about 50% of that cholesterol is reabsorbed, but soluble fiber traps it and carries it out in your stool.
Rough rule of thumb, every 1 gram of soluble fiber can lower LDL by about 2 points.
Great sources: oats, barley, legumes, chia seeds, and most fruits and veggies.
To really boost your intake, consider psyllium fiber, like Metamucil. Studies show that a tablespoon twice a day can lower LDL by 13 points. I personally prefer the powder to gummies or capsules, but find what works best for you.
Next up, phytosterols. These are plant-based cholesterol lookalikes that block cholesterol absorption. 2 grams a day can reduce LDL by 5 to 10%. But here's the catch. It's hard to get that amount from diet alone. So most people turn to fortified foods or supplements. That said, some people hyperabsorb sterols, which could actually raise their cardiovascular risk. So, while many medical guidelines still support their use, I'm a bit cautious when it comes to supplements.
Another smart switch, replacing animal proteins with plant-based options, like beans, lentils, nuts, and seeds. A review of 108 trials showed that this swap can reduce LDL by about 6 points. Plus, you get extra benefits, like fiber, healthy fats, and 0 cholesterol.
Now, about exercise. It's amazing for your health. But when it comes to LDL, the effect might not be as big as you expect.
Still, recent studies show that doing cardio 4 times a week could lower LDL by 5 to 6 points. Add in 2 strength training sessions, and you might see an 11-point drop.
Bottom line, even if it doesn't revolutionize your cholesterol levels, exercise is non-negotiable for your heart and overall health.
Sustainable weight loss can also help. Losing weight and keeping it off for 12 months or more can reduce LDL by about 1.3 points per kilogram lost.
And here's an honorable mention: probiotics. They're not yet part of standard guidelines, but early studies show promise. Taking probiotics for 2 to 12 weeks could drop LDL by about 8 points.
There's not enough research to recommend a specific strain or dose, but it's a good excuse to eat more fermented foods, like miso, kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt, and kefir.
Look, I get it. Keeping track of all these nutrients and swaps can feel overwhelming. That's why most guidelines now focus on big-picture dietary patterns. Diets like the Mediterranean diet, DASH, and plant-based eating have all been proven to lower LDL and reduce cardiovascular risk.
What do they have in common? Whole fruits and veggies, whole grains, healthy fats, less processed food, limited animal fats, and tropical oils like coconut or palm oil.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach. So take these principles and find a way of eating that works for you, and that you can actually stick to.
Before we wrap up, let me tell you about 2 popular remedies I don't recommend, and for good reason.
First, red yeast rice. It lowers LDL just like statins, because it contains monacolin K, the same active ingredient in lovastatin. But unlike prescriptions, red yeast rice isn't regulated, and almost all versions contain citrinin, a toxin linked to kidney failure.
In fact, a recent outbreak in Japan hospitalized over 500 people and caused dozens of deaths from kidney failure.
Stick with the prescription statins. They're safe, pure, and properly dosed.
Second, green tea extract, especially catechins. Some studies show they may lower LDL, but they've also been linked to severe liver damage, even at recommended doses.
So skip the pills, but feel free to enjoy a nice cup of green tea.
So yes, there are many science-backed ways to lower your LDL naturally.
But even if the changes don't move your numbers as much as you hoped, remember, they still benefit your heart, weight, metabolism, and overall health.
It's not all or nothing.
Huge thanks to my amazing husband, James, who's a cardiologist and helped a ton behind the scenes. We really enjoyed putting this together for you. If you're interested in more heart-healthy tips, check out our video on lowering blood pressure naturally. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.